Well, here we are, Thoughts from the Office, Redneck's Pride Outdoors. It just seems the wildlife control industry is just giving me thought after thought after thought, ideas for these short videos or these videos. And essentially these videos are taking the place of my podcasts that I once did for Redneck's Pride Outdoors talk show. You can still see some of the old ones, and I might start the podcast up again. I'm thinking about it. It's a lot of work to do a podcast show. So these videos that I'm doing right now are essentially the same thing as my podcast, only a lot shorter. And you're saying, wow, 15 to 20, 30 minutes is shorter? Yeah, because our podcast would go average an hour and a half to 2 hours. Because we covered detail and covered in-depth stuff. Whether it was my guest coming on and I would try to pull out every information I could out of them, or if I was giving a podcast or whatever. But anyway, going back to these short videos, these YouTube things, low budget TV shows. The wildlife control industry and trapping always has information, and it seems like the wildlife control and the trappers are always jumping on information. And in this video here, I want to do as I'm driving to my job, a raccoon job, ironically. It's a large property job. Anyway, getting back to on track here. We're right in. We're it's what, April 2nd, I think it is, and we're right in the raccoons dropping pups or ready to drop their pups. And the eviction method is viewed as a very good method. And I agree, it is. And anymore, if I have pups, I'm going to do the eviction. All right, it's just simpler. It's easier on the customer, pocketbook wise. It's not that I charge less to do an eviction. It's just to catch a raccoon, and then got to go find the babies, and the babies or the pups are always down in a spot, and you got to cut a hole. Now there's the added expense for that, plus the expenses of money. It's easier. Plus, in today's mindset, in today's world, and I call it the Disneyland syndrome. People just have a hard time with the emotions when it comes to catching critters. Anyway, let's get back on. And here's what I want to talk about for the eviction paste. I am a firm believer in evictions. I do it. If I have 40 raccoon with pups jobs this month or next month combined, 35 of them will be eviction. Okay? And it works. It works if you do it the right way. And what I'm noticing with a lot of folks is they're going to the eviction method not to be done the right way, but because they think it's fast and easy and less effort. And my friend, that is not an absolute at all. Matter of fact, that's as far from the truth as you can get. I cringe when somebody calls me and tells me they're going to use my coon be gone. I got to get that plug in there. You know that. It's my video. Redneck's Bright Outdoors, coon be gone. But I cringe when they tell me they're going to take it and just put it on a rag and stick it in a hole. I cringe. Because I want to say to them, and sometimes I can, if I'm talking to them and I feel that I can offer my suggestions without them taking it wrong. And that's hard in today's world too. You know, these videos that I'm doing are just offering up information, but I'm amazed at how many people that take offense to them. Wow. And I say to them, you ain't got to listen to the video. And I'm not telling you I'm the only way to do it. I'm saying this is what I do. Okay? Sorry you took offense, but dude, come on, man. Make your own friggin' video. But anyway, if I feel that I'm in a place where I can talk to these folks, and they say I'm going to put it on a rag and stick it in the hole, you know, the first question I usually ask is, where are the young at? And they'll say, I don't know. And I'll say, you know, taking eviction paste and just sticking it by the hole works a lot of times. But a lot of times it's not going to. And I don't care whose you're using. I don't care what eviction paste you're using or whatever, or product. Just taking a rag, putting eviction paste on it and sticking it in the hole is the same as a carpenter on a ladder with his hammer beating on the roof by the hole. Carpenter said, well, nothing came out. And I'll say, let me ask you a question. You're sitting there on the roof, beating on the hole with a hammer. Yeah. Okay. You're in your house, and somebody's standing outside your door, beating on your door with a hammer. Are you running out the door? Well, I've seen them. Yeah, because it was right there. You're beating on that hole, and they got a whole house to hide in. They go and hide. Same as you going up in an attic and looking for the animal. Well, anyway, get it back on. Get off our rabbit trail and get back on the subject here matter here. Taking your whatever product you're using, whatever product, and there's a lot of good products out there, folks. Mine's the best, but there's a lot of good products out there. And I'm sure every one of those manufacturers is going to tell you the same thing I'm going to tell you right now. Yes, it works by putting it there just inside the hole, but if those pups are 30 feet into the attic in an area in which that sow raccoon feels complete, total security and safety, and many times when the sow chooses a place to have her pups, the more experienced, the older the sow, they will tend to have their pups, if you've ever noticed, they will have their pups in a place in which there's one way in and one way out. And there's a reason for that. Meaning down in that cubby hole, down in that tight spot. And the reason for that is they can protect those pups easier. If they just have those pups out in the middle of the attic, she can't protect those pups. Now your young sows, first year, they don't know that. They don't have those instincts yet. They haven't fought off enough boars. And let me tell you what, by 3 or 4 year old raccoon, she's probably fought off more boars than you can shake a stick at. So by just taking the product and putting it in the hole, and she's got the nest way back in there somewhere, that just puts her on the alert. right? And that's where you will see behavior like Dave posted up on the wildlife page of the raccoon running around on the roof and standing there looking at him as he's taking a picture. As soon as I saw that picture and listening to and reading his post, I said, yeah, she's on guard duty, man. She's on guard duty. And you're probably going to have to put more effort into her to get her to lose faith in the safety factor that she's chosen. And that's the key. That is the whole key. If nothing else from this video, you don't get anything else but the one thing. The reason she chose that den, the reason she chose that attic, the reason she chose that location in that attic was total, complete safety factor. Total, complete safety factor. She chose that attic because she felt safe. She chose that spot because she can protect those pups. What it is. So when I'm using eviction products, yes, absolutely, the first place I'm going to put it is at that entry point. But if that's the only place I can get it, the entry point, and not even if, I always try to do this, but if that is the only place I can get, then I am absolutely making sure that I'm adding another negative, or at least a couple more negatives, to that spot. All right? Now, what do I mean by adding a negative? By me getting to that hole, I've added my human odor at the entry point. If I can get my odor inside that entry point, it's even better. That's where you hear me talk about rags or napkins, wiping my armpits, wiping my body, whatever. I want my human odor on that rag along with the eviction inside. I have now created two negatives. Not only the eviction negative, but my negative. When I am evicting the raccoon, I want that raccoon to know me. I want that raccoon to know me. If I'm trying to trap the raccoon, I don't want her to know me. But if I'm evicting her, I want her to know me. How does she know me? By my smell. And that's a whole different podcast. I mean, video right there. Anyway. So the second negative that I'm going to introduce is myself. Eviction, myself at the entry point. The third negative, I want her to think that she's blocked in. I want her to think that she can't get out. Now, she can. You never block it up to where she can't get out, but I want her to work to get out. That's where I'm going to take aluminum and tape it, not screw it. Well, sometimes I screw it if I screw it at the top and make like a flap door type thing. But I don't like the flap door because that can act as a one-way door, and then you want her to be able to get back into the pups. So if I take a piece of aluminum, and a lot of times I will take that aluminum, I'll just take it up and I'll take duct tape and I'll tape it over the hole. But on the back of that piece of aluminum, I'm going to take duct tape and I'm going to put duct tape on the back of that aluminum. Now, why am I putting duct tape on the back of the aluminum? Scent holder. I've taken napkins and taped them to the back of the aluminum, and then on that duct tape that's taped on the back of that aluminum or napkin or whatever you're attaching to that aluminum, I'm going to put the eviction paste on it. And what I try to do always, knowing raccoon behavior, I always put the majority of the product on the bottom edge and the bottom corners and the upper in the upper right and left corner. I put it all over. Now, I'm not using a ton of it, okay? One teaspoon of my paste goes a long, long way. All right? Depending on your product that you're using, whether it's liquid or something like that. So if you're using a liquid form of eviction, then you're going to want to use something different than duct tape. You're going to want to use a rag, maybe taped to the back of that aluminum, or napkins or something like that. You want that to absorb the liquid eviction product. But paste, I use the duct tape. And the reason I go to the whole bottom section and the corners, the top corners, is because the areas in which the raccoon is going to work that aluminum to push out, is either going to be the upper right, the upper left corner, or it's going to be the left, right, or center on the bottom. Now I got it duct taped, and I got it duct taped pretty good. I got it duct taped that they can't just push it down. I got it duct taped so they have got to push hard on it. I want them to work to get out of there. All right? And by working to get out of there, they're not only smelling it inside the area, they're literally getting it on their nose and their paws and their face and their ears. Okay, so no matter where they go from that point on, they're smelling the product for a while. So you want to do the negative. I always add 3 negatives. Now, if you want to add 4, 5, 6 negatives, that's even better. The more negatives you add, the better the product works, and the faster the product works. All right? Anybody's product. If I can get into the attic, I'm going into the attic. And I'm going to get to that nesting area. And I'm going to get the product and my human odor into that nesting area also. So there's 2 negatives there. And if I can put the product along a travel route, I'm putting the product there. So, and I'm only using my product because I don't know what everybody else's products are out there per se. But my product, Coon Be Gone, comes in a 4-ounce paste jar. So say I can usually get 15 or 20 jobs out of mine. 15 at least. But say you're only getting 7 because you're using the product really hard. If you're charging correctly, you could use 1 jar and still be making plenty of money. All right? Wildlife control is not the place to be frugal. As a fur trapper, I can be frugal. I'm expected to be frugal. No, I'll put it this way. As a fur trapper, we as fur trappers, we are cheap. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're cheap. We're so cheap that we're stupid sometimes. But as a wildlife control person, if you're charging $5, $6, $7, $1,000 for that eviction, you understand what I'm saying, all right? So, first point here is at the entry point, if you're only setting up the entry point, at least 3 negatives, if not more. Okay, make her think the safety factor is gone. If you can get inside and make her think the safety factor is gone on the inside by 2 negatives, me and whatever else, okay, then do that also. The more effort you put into it the first day or 2, the faster the job works. I always tell folks, realistically, it takes 3 to 5 days for her to get all her pups out. 3 days is a reality. 5 days is not uncommon. If she's got a spot close by that she's going to move them to, she might have them out that night. And if you go to my podcast over on Redneck's Pride Outdoors, I think I go into a lot of that stuff. On that type of stuff that we're talking about. And I didn't cover 50% of what I could have covered with that in that podcast. But anyway, this was just a short teaser, if you will, on mindset of using eviction products. Who's ever. They all work. I don't know a person out there that has spent the time and money to put their product on the market that his product doesn't work or her product doesn't work. You just got to find the fine tuning of each one of those products. Don't just, this is what I think, therefore. Okay? One of the things I hear constantly, and the post this morning reminded me of it. They'll say they used it at the entry point, and the raccoon runs the roof all night long. She'll run the roof 15, 20 minutes, and then she goes back in with the pups. And then she runs the roof 15, 20 minutes, and then she runs back in with the pups. And they'll say to me, what is going on? And I'm saying, she thinks there's a danger there, and she's going to confront it outside where she can control it. She can't control it inside. She can't control the fight inside. And I've had the privilege, I want to say, even though I didn't enjoy it, I had the privilege of watching a raccoon fight a boar trying to save her pups. And let me tell you something, my folks. I was in an attic with that raccoon, and I ain't afraid of too much. I'm really not. I grab raccoons, no problem. And I'm on video showing it, okay? But I'll tell you what, that night watching that raccoon fight the boar, and then turn her attention to me and charge me, and I'm knocking her away with my hat. Am I trying to grab her with my poles in there? And I'm thinking, I don't want to grab her with my poles in there because she's the only thing that's saving the pups. And I'm sitting there as a bystander on this thing. And I'll tell you what, I didn't want to be there too long. I had myself in a position to evacuate that place fast if I needed to, because she was in a rage, man. She was in a rage to the point to where she had that old boar back down into a corner, and the first chance he got, he took off out of that hole, as running as hard as he could. And I'm gonna tell you what, she was right on his heels, nipping at his tail. He went up on the roof, she went up on the roof, and they was going at it on the roof, and she plain chased him off the roof. I don't even think he crawled down the corner. I think he took a flying leap, is what I think from what I was hearing. And she stood up there for another 10 minutes, pacing around, before she came in to set her sights on me. You know, God's blessed me. He's not made me a rich man. I wish I was a better businessman. Don't take any business sense off of me. You never hear me talk about running a business. But God has blessed me for doing wildlife control for 45 years now, being a trapper for 55. 45 years as a wildlife control, and God has shown me a lot of stuff. He's given me the ability to see a lot of stuff. And that I thank God for. That's the reason I'm putting this video up. It's not telling you I'm the greatest guy out there, because I'm not. I'm just a guy that has screwed up enough to see a lot. Like I've said before, I don't learn on success. I learn by, what the heck happened there? I don't learn by catching. I learn by not catching. So whenever I see something that I don't quite understand, I dig into it to figure it out. And I don't let myself say, well, this is what it is because I saw it one time. I base an assumption that I say publicly. If I'm saying something publicly, you can guarantee it, not good English, that's why I'm a redneck. You can guarantee that I have seen it so many times that I do not have to convince myself anymore. Another important part, wildlife control. How many times do you have to see something over and over and over again before you just say to yourself, this is the way it is, and not prove it to yourself? Well, in redneck fashion, I'm going to leave it here. Hope this wasn't too long. Hope you get something out of it. Hope we get your brains turning. Taking what I've said, taking what you see, and applying it to what your area has to offer. Thoughts from the office. Redneck Sprite out.